This is the Relic Radio Show, old-time radio entertainment still standing the test of time from relicradio.com. Welcome back to the Relic Radio Show. Thanks for joining me this Tuesday. The Columbia Workshop begins this week's hour of radio drama with their story from July 25th, 1936, titled Broadway Evening. After that, it's the six-shooter in Thicker Than Water. That episode aired March 14th, 1954.
The Columbia Workshop, under the direction of Irving Reese.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight the Columbia Workshop is about to present its second program dedicated to you and to the magic of radio. Before we do, we wish to thank you for your generous response to our request for your opinions on the experiments we demonstrated of radio technique versus stage technique. During long rehearsals of the stage play with a parabolic microphone, we learned a great many things which, added to your opinions of the broadcast, have led us to decide to continue the investigations in the use of the parabolic microphone for radio drama. More than 80% of the letters told us that the stage play presented exactly as it would be in the theater, allowing the artist's freedom of movement, enhance the illusion of dramatic reality. Because of your interest and response, we're planning further experiments along this line with modified equipment which will enable us to overcome some of the difficulties we encountered, and with dramatic scripts which will be shaped especially for the scope of the parabolic microphone. The first will be ready in a few weeks. Tonight, we're presenting as another experiment the work of a new radio writer, Leopold Prosser. Mr. Prosser has constructed an unusual radio play called Broadway Evening. Broadway Evening has no plot. It is an ear impression of an evening in the life of an average New York man and woman on Broadway. Many of the sounds that you'll hear will actually come from the crossroads of the world to form an authentic background for our play.
Times Square, the Great White Way, the main stem, the street of broken dreams, of fame and fortune, of hope and disillusion. Its great hotels would house a city full of people. Its restaurants would feast them. Its electric signs would light all their streets. The sayings of its sages, the soothsayers and its philosophers, would keep them reading for a lifetime. As bright as noon the whole day long, more stars than there are in heaven, the gayest spot in all America. The world beats to the pulse of Broadway, and its heart is the crowd that moves beneath its gaudy halo. Great ships bring them here, and swift airplanes. They come in 1,000 trains and 10,000 automobiles, in huge buses, and sometimes on floats. Visitors from the furthermost reaches of the United States, from all the Americas, pleasure seekers from the ends of the earth. They speed over it in taxicabs and up and down its buildings in fast elevators. But mostly, they walk up and down its sidewalks. You see this crowd on the stage, in the movie houses, on the screen as shadows. It is to be found between the pages of books and caught in the paintings of countless artists. Its movements, its colors, its smells unknown everywhere. Its gaily dressed throngs, its pet children, and even its beggars are the material for a never-ending stream of dramas. No source of pleasure is unknown to it, and many know its misery. It speaks all languages, in every tone, with every gesture. It is strident, fast, and living. Most of all, it is unceasing. Here is its voice.
Broadway Evening by Leopold Prosser.
Excuse me, sir.
Another crush on the subway platform without newsboys shoving past you.
Well, you got a hustle to make a living nowadays, I suppose.
What'd you say?
I say you got a hustle to make a living.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, Harry, I'll be seeing you. Come on, Fred, come on.
Saw my horoscope this morning on the influence of Venus.
Yeah? What did it say?
Oh, a lot of things. They got my character down pat.
Not a hooey, if you ask me.
Yes, so. Things often turn out, though, just as I predict.
Coincidence.
What'd you say?
I said coincidence.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny, though, just the same. Hey, you better watch yourself.
Yeah, getting a cough.
Well, that reminds me, I gotta get something for Junior's call. That ad up there, think it's any good?
Can't tell. Why'd you get some and try it?
I don't know what to get nowadays.
Get your coffee.
Gotta reline the drawers in the bedroom chest. A lot of dust collected. Don't know where it all comes from.
Wind blows it from the street, I suppose.
Right, the dust 1 minute and it all settles again the next minute.
Times Square.
Sounds right. Amy said she'd like this in town. God, Jen, they sold out in 7 weeks. They have the best band in town.
I'll box in the balcony. I'll put in the comedy theater. I don't want to.
She's living in the 40s somewhere. She's seen it twice, and you don't have a tip, so you stayed anyway.
Even double feature. Sure. Why, a fellow that always plays the dumb guy. You know the one I...
That's before 6 o'clock. 85 cents after 6. Can't act. She's good looking, that's all. Up in the gallery. Well, we might as well be outside.
Complete soul dinner and dancing. I'm having such a cheap crowd there.
The British pay for it. That's not the way it's played. You don't have to go to Broadway if you don't want them.
It doesn't go up until 9. Give me American cooking every time. American.
There's a picture. It doesn't do this. What's your here, Purdy?
Here's the show, I tell you. Yes, but now you're like a society club.
You gotta wear a top. What'd you pay $3?
All the latest song hits for a nickel. Songs of the same strain in radio. 5 cents. Voice to all the popular songs. Only 5 cents. Here's the latest song. Thing of the night. Gotta watch yourself in weather like this. First thing you know, you're down with a grip or something.
That's right. Gosh, it's getting muggier again.
Yeah, feels like another scorcher.
Yeah.
Well, cool inside the moving picture houses.
Well, that's something. Boy, it's been hot.
And some say it can't be done. Out in California, the land in the midnight sun, they use it all the time. Now here you are, folks. Not $1, not 50 cents, but only $1. For a dime, you get the greatest invention.
What's the matter, Karen? I don't know.
It's only 10 cents. Now it's a Oh, it needs a new trend. Something the repairman said.
Did you tell him we got new tubes only last week?
Didn't you hear what I said?
Well,
It's not the tubes, it's the... What did he say now? Oh, yeah, the transformer, that's it. We need a new transformer.
How much will that cost?
Well, he said he'd let me know.
Well, don't let him put anything over on you.
Shine, mister. Shine, mister. Shine him up.
You want to go in here?
It's all right with me.
Get your checking the machine, sir, please.
Huh?
Get the checking machine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you never know what you get in these places.
Yes, whatever you want.
Well, I don't know what I want. Well, guess I'll have some eggs. Will you give me 2 fried eggs, fry them on both sides?
Fry two, over.
I'll take some bacon with that. Well done, please.
Bacon with it, well. Why, whole wheat rolls.
Whole wheat.
Whole wheat. Yes, sir. Yours?
What kind of soup you got?
Clam chowder, English beef, Yankee bean.
Yankee bean.
Yankee bean. Omelet dinner?
No, just soup.
Yankee bean, all off.
Now, I'll take one of those steel cutlets. That one.
This one?
No.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Vegetables?
Well, let's see.
Cauliflower, spinach plain, cabbage, spinach cream.
Well, spinach spring.
Spinach cream, yes, sir. String beans, French fried potatoes, Brussels sprouts, peas, macaroni, mashed potatoes.
Mashed.
Mashed. Here you are, sir. Check.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Here's my check. Say, do you mind putting a little gravy on the mash?
Not at all. Gravy on the mash.
Gravy on the mash.
Gravy on the mash. Apple pie with ice cream.
Appalala.
Liver and bacon.
Chowder.
Carrots and peas.
Carrots and peas.
French fries.
French fries.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Tea.
Tea. Cream or lemon?
Cream.
Cream.
Coffee. Coffee.
Try two.
Liver. Milk. Shrimp.
This one?
That one.
This one.
Milk.
Turnip.
Pie. Chocolate.
Pie. Carrot.
Pie. Cutlet. Bread.
Medium.
Toast. Butter.
King. Pie.
Boiled check. Coffee. Check. Check. Coffee. Check. Tea. Check. English. Check.
Yankee.
Check.
Yankee.
Check. English. Coffee.
Tea.
Check. Check. Tea. Coffee. Check. Check.
Got your ticket for complete show just starting. No waiting, complete show just going on. Get your ticket for complete show.
Two, please.
Just in time to see a complete show just going on. No waiting, no standing in line. Complete show just going on.
Only on the main floor. Seats in the balcony. Standing room only on the main floor, sir. Good seats in the balcony. What time now? The feature, sir. Been on 35 minutes. Standing room only downstairs. Should we go upstairs?
No, let's stand downstairs for a while.
All right.
Dorothy, I didn't expect to find you here.
I'm going away, Reggie.
Going away, Dorothy? Why?
Well, I realize it's all over between us. You and Bob Viola. And well, there doesn't seem to be any good reason for my staying around anymore.
Let's sit here.
Okay. Gee. Thanks, Dorothy. You're swell.
Yes. Well, I guess it's goodbye.
Yes. Goodbye.
Reginald.
Yes, Dorothy.
Aren't you going to, for old time's sake, won't you kiss me goodbye?
Kiss you goodbye?
Well,
Of course, Dorothy.
Red! Oh, nice.
Viola.
That's what he's darling.
Please don't let me interrupt you.
Viola, we were just...
That's all right, Reginald. You don't have to justify yourself to me. I have eyes.
But Viola, darling, listen to me. Dorothy and I are
Please
already...
don't make matters worse by lying. You're free to act as you please.
Viola, listen to me. Viola, you don't understand. Let me explain. Viola, you must listen to me. You don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand.
Single down front, madam. Plenty of seats on the far aisle. What do you order martinis for if you don't like it?
I don't like any kind of cocktails. I just take one to keep you
Oh,
company.
yeah? Fine company you're keeping me a 2 bits of throat.
Oh, stop your kidding. There's no cover charge.
Yeah, and lucky for me there isn't a cover charge. If you order and drinks you don't even like.
Well, you like them well enough. You've had 4.
All right, so what? I said anything about not buying you anymore? I'm paying for yours too, ain't I?
Just for that, I'll have another one.
Yeah? What Don't ask for 2 olives this time.
Why not? What's your difference?
Oh, a lot of difference.
What, for instance?
Oh, skip it. Just dance.
Get a fresh cigardina. Only a dime. Get a fresh cigardina. Get a fresh cigardina.
Morning papers, I'll read all about it. Morning papers, get your copy here. Read all about the morning papers.
Ballroom dancing, continuous dancing. Ballroom dancing. 50 beautiful dance partners. Continuous dancing. Ballroom dancing.
I nearly stifled in that diner dance place. The fresh air cleans your head.
You sure does. Terrible hot in there.
You don't notice it till you come out here in the open.
Yeah. Open air feels much cooler after that hot joint.
You don't feel so choked up. You can breathe easier.
You sure can.
Ballroom dancing. Honor ballroom dancing. 50 beautiful dance partners. Continuous dancing. Ballroom dancing. Continuous dancing.
It took me the longest time to get over the sunburn I got in the beach last summer.
I thought you rubbed that lotion on it.
Yeah, I did, but it didn't do much good.
No, I guess
I
not.
gotta rub it on before.
Oh, before the sun gets you?
Yeah, then it doesn't burn so bad.
Well, why didn't you?
Oh, I don't know. Guess you don't think about it at the time.
Yeah, I guess you don't.
I am up next step. I am up.
Here. What's the matter? You colorblind? Can't you see the red light?
Yes, officer.
Then why do you go ahead?
Yes, officer.
Green means go, red means stop.
Yes, officer.
All right, then. See that you remember next time.
Yes, officer.
All right, take it out again.
Yes, officer.
Yes, boy, so I'm only
Sightseeing buses down to the village. All right, sightseeing buses down to the village.
Sightseeing buses down to the
Take
a look at the craters in the moon. See the craters in the moon. Put your eye to the telescope. See the craters in the moon.
There was a big hole in the living room carpet when it came back from the cleaners.
I thought you said there was a hole in it when you spent it.
There was, but it wasn't so big.
John, mister. Shine him up. Shine him up. Shine him up, dear. Shine.
Step right in, folks. Step right in. Come right inside. That's right. Now get right down here in front here, folks. Get down here so I won't have to yell so loud. Of course, I can't yell anymore. All right. Now, here you are. What is it? It's a watch. No, lady, it's not a solid gold watch. And I'm not going to sell it to you as a solid gold watch. And I'm not going to sell it to you for the price of a solid gold watch. In fact, by the time I'm finished, you'll wonder whether I'm going to sell it at all. You'll wonder whether I don't intend to give it away. Look at the watch, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Pass me another of the same article, Fred. That's right, Fred. That's right. A man couldn't wish for a better assistant. These watches, ladies and gents, is solid 14-karat rolled gold-plated cases. There's only 2 of them, and the cases are solid 14-karat rolled gold-plated cases. Now, you'll ask me, what's the difference between that and the gold you pay for in watches at the swell stores charge you $50 and $100 and $200 for? And I know you all buy 1 or 2 of them watches every week. What's the difference? Well, I'd be telling a lie if I said I knew. Yes, I'd be telling a lie. But I know this much. I said I know this much. That those swell stores where you pay $200 and $300 for a watch don't have any rent to pay there on the swanky avenues. Oh, no. And they don't have any insurance to pay. They don't have to pay for the uniforms with solid silver buttons on the lottie-da-dorman. They don't have to pay for the elegant attendants in tuxedos at 10 o'clock in the morning to help you select your monogram cufflinks. Oh, no. And that's why they can give you things so cheap. But I have to pay to have my windows cleaned every 6 months and the floor swept. And so that's why I gotta charge you $500 for a watch, and the Tony stores only charge you $10. Yes, ladies and gents, $10 was what I was getting for these solid 14-karat rolled gold-plated watches this morning. But for you folks,
going to do better because I know you have confidence in me, see? Not 10, not 9, not 8. Here, wait a minute. I'll tell you what I'll do. You folks are going to be glad you came in here tonight. Hand me one of them there rings, Fred. One of them 18-karat solid rolled gold-plated engagement rings with a genuine stone. That's it, Fred. We've been together for a long time, eh, Fred? You trust me, and I don't trust you. Hold it up and I can all see. Now, ladies and gents, take these two articles together. The 14-karat solid rolled gold-plated watch and the 18-karat solid rolled gold-plated ring.
John, Mr. John. John, I'm up, Mr. John, I'm up, Mr. John. I'm up, Mr. John here. John. I'm up, Mr. John. Hit the target. Six shots for one gun. I'll try your aim, folks. Try your aim for it. Hit the target. You get six shots for one gun.
I read all the gangsters are getting killed off.
Yeah. They kill each other. Saves the police a job.
Notice how they all die young? It said that hardly any of them reached 40.
40's a good age for a gangster.
Young to die, though.
Well, they got it coming to them.
Yeah, I guess they have. If they kill each other off, soon be none of them left.
There'll always be some, as long as there's money.
Yeah, and women.
That's right. There's always a woman mixed up in it somewhere. All turns on money or women in the long run.
Run isn't so long, either.
Yep. Fast life and a gay one.
Can't be so gay.
Maybe not. But plenty fast.
2 francs.
2 francs? 2 drinks with them?
2 francs.
2 drinks? Frank, put it with it.
2 dogs as much as they go.
2 dogs to go.
Those cocktails have gone to my head.
Yeah, got quiet kicking them.
Cocktails always make me a little dizzy.
Well, I suppose that's what they're for.
Yeah, but you gotta drink a lot of them.
They charge too much.
That's right. Nothing in them. Must be all profit.
Well, you get away with it.
Sure do. It's a good business.
Well, business if you know how to work it.
Well, they know.
They sure do.
You bet they do.
Now bring all the crowd and get your coffee up the morning.
In a day, everything worth doing takes time. Nothing worth doing is done in a hurry.
How about winning a horse race?
Let them that are suckers enough to bet on horses, bet on horses. And I'll bet their last pair of pants if they want to. If you're going to be a sucker, you're going to be a sucker, and I can't do anything about it.
Yes, you can. Give us the winners.
All right, you can laugh. You can laugh. What this product can change your bread and butter, I tell you. It touches the fundamental solidarity of the only stock that got left to stand. It's your
Nowhere else. Let there be peace and quiet. The world is in a turmoil across the sea. But let there be peace and quiet on this continent.
You men know why? You know the truth about things? Or are you deluding yourselves? Are you going about in a circle with your eyes closed like a squirrel in a cage, round and round? Squirrels don't know better, folks. They don't have the faculty of human intelligence that differentiates us from the animals. They go round the circle. They don't get no place. They can't think where they're going as human beings like you and me can. They're content to plod around and round and round without gaining anything from going round and round. But you and I, having the faculty of human intelligence, don't have to go round and round. We can get someplace. We don't have to emulate the squirrel who gets someplace. So men, learn the truth about things. Don't be content to go as the squirrel goes, round and round and round and
They're kidding. They're only a dime. They're 10 cents.
Give the kiddies a real treat. Here you are, lady. Get one for cent.
I'll read all about it. Morning papers, read all about it. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I wonder how much those big shot musicians are worth. Supposed to play in the high-class music hall tonight.
Hard to say. Must be worth plenty, though.
They said that if they played in the street, nobody would take the slightest notice.
I suppose so. Well, they got good publicity agents.
Still, I guess you gotta have something to get those big audiences and your picture in the newspaper.
Yeah, I guess they know their stuff all right.
Must be a lot just as good, though. Gotta get a break. That's all.
Right. That's right. They gotta get a break.
I am up.
Take one home to the kiddies. They're only 10 cents. They're only a dime. Take one home to the kiddies, folks. Here you are, lady. They're only 10 cents.
You won't have to rock me to sleep tonight.
I'm pretty tired, too.
Done a lot of walking.
Yep. Time tires you out.
Gosh, I never knew I could get so tired. Guess the cocktails help, too.
Yeah. They make you feel sleepy.
You got any nickels?
Yeah, I got some. And I'll watch your step there.
I forgot to get those cocktails.
Get it some other time.
Oh, gee, I'm sleepy.
So now. Look at the craters on the moon. That's the target.
14-karat solid roll gold-plated. Take it out of there.
Ready on the mat.
Full moon, evening star out.
Check.
Teaching about the
Off from the stage. Sunburn
Well,
Ocean.
good dinner.
Argentina.
In the Bowery.
Martini's in the Bowery.
What's that?
Go on the mat.
Papers, not $1, not 50 cents.
On paper, not $1, not 50 cents.
14-karat solid roll gold seats for balcony.
14-karat solid roll gold seats for the balcony.
2-9 officer. Fruit drink with it. Fruit drink with it. 2-9 officer.
Fruit drink with it, fruit drink with it.
Rolls, 5 cents a bag.
Well, 5 cents a bag.
Immediately. 1 hour.
On the move. On the dinner. All coffee. In the bar.
Leaving immediately. 1 hour.
On the move.
The Columbia Workshop has presented, as an experiment in radio drama, Leopold Prosser's impressionistic radio play, Broadway Evening. Although all the voices you heard performing in the script came from Workshop Studio, practically all sound effects were actually taking place during this past half hour on Broadway and picked up by our microphones to furnish an authentic background to this play. We hope you liked Broadway Evening, and we would like to receive your comments. Tune in next week at the same time for another broadcast of the Columbia Workshop. The Columbia Workshop is directed by Irving Reese. Brewster Morgan assisted in the presentation of Broadway Evening. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
In a moment, you'll hear James Stewart as the six-shooter. Just one of the many fine programs brought to you Sundays on NBC. Later this evening, listen to the NBC Star Playhouse with your favorite stars. Hear Meet the Press with guest Roy Cohn in a newsworthy broadcast. And be sure to keep tuned for the dramatic story of communism in America on Last Man Out. It's a wonderful lineup of great programs, all of them heard only on NBC. James Stewart as the six-shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother of pearl. It's handled unmarked. People call them both the six-shooter. The NBC Radio Network presents James Stewart as the six-shooter. A transcribed series of radio dramas based on the life of Britt Ponsett, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends.
I could tell he was a big man from the sound of his steps as he plowed through the trees toward where I was squatted by the fire eating my lunch. Finally came into sight. He's almost as broad as he was tall, with bright red hair and a great big thick mustache that kind of curled up at the corners. Well, he sure wasn't any cowhand. Not with those duds he was wearing. Long black coat and light yellow breeches. Looked like he'd been wearing them for quite a spell, too, though. Mud all over the pants and a tear in one of the coat sleeves. He seemed cheerful enough, though. At least the grin he gave me was so broad it showed off practically every tooth in his head. Lots of gold there, too.
Howdy, mister.
Hello.
Mind if I warm myself for a spell?
No. Go right ahead.
That sun just don't give off much heat. What time you make it, mister?
About noon. Maybe a little later.
Hey, that grub sure smells good, don't it?
Are you hungry?
Well, not hungry exactly. Starved would be more like it.
Well, you help yourself to what's left of the beans over there.
Well, thanks, mister. Thanks a lot. Worked up quite an appetite since breakfast.
You traveling on foot, huh?
Yep. Not from choice, understand? Not from choice.
Oh, yeah.
Had me pony. Finest little roan you ever saw. I lost him, though. Oh, by George, those beans are tasty.
Well, you lost your horse?
Yep. Last night. Poker game over to Jackson.
Poker, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you're a gambler, huh?
Well, the way the card's been running lately, I ain't so sure.
I see.
But if I had to go broke somewheres, I guess Jackson was as good a place as any. At least it's within walking distance of Clover Fork.
Well, that's quite a walk.
Well, I know it. I ain't got much further to go, though, have I?
About 15 miles, I think.
Well, I reckon I'll make it somehow. You acquainted with Clover Fork, mister?
Some. I've been working on a ranch not very far from there. Usually get into town every week or so. That's where I'm headed now.
Well, then, maybe you can tell me where I'll find my family. My wife and son, that is. Their name's Proctor.
What? Proctor?
Well, they're still living in Clover Fork, ain't they? That's where they'd moved to last time I heard. Janet Proctor, that's my wife. Boy's called Ted after his grandfather. You know him, mister?
Yeah, I know Ted.
Oh, I'll bet he's a whopper by now. Why, he must be, well, let's see, he's going on 12 years old.
He's a good-sized boy, all right.
And what about Janet, mister? She's still pretty? She used to be pretty as a picture when she was a girl.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Proctor's dead.
What?
Yes, she's, it was over a year ago now, pneumonia.
Janet? Dead?
Yes, I'm very sorry, Proctor. It's funny they didn't let you know about it.
I reckon they tried. I ain't an easy man to reach. I keep moving around.
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, I didn't realize that Ted's father was still alive. I sort of got the impression that you were dead.
Poor Janet. She sure never had much of a life. It was my fault. My fault more than anybody's, I guess. But I just couldn't do no different. I tried to settle down, get a steady job. It didn't work out. Some men aren't meant to stay put.
Yeah?
Now, it wasn't that I really left her, you understand. At first, he used to come back whenever I had a winning streak and got some money ahead. And as time went on, I kept staying away longer and longer until, well, it's been 7, 8 years now. She wasn't living in Clover Fork when I last saw her. She told me she was fixing to move there. I thought sure I'd be around this part of the country before now, but, well, there always seemed to be another card game to keep me away.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Ted's all right, you said, huh?
Yeah, oh, yes, he's fine last time I saw him.
Who's looking after him now?
Well, your wife's sister. He's been living with her the last year.
Amy? Why, well, she's just a girl.
Oh, she must be getting on to 30.
30? Well, ain't she married yet?
No, there's talk, though. Fred Baker, he's a real nice fellow. He owns a ranch right outside of town.
Well, how's Amy managing? She don't have no money.
Well, I guess you didn't know it, but your wife had built up a pretty nice little dressmaking trade, and Amy took it over. Woman folks say she's real handy with a needle.
Oh.
Ted does his part, too, odd jobs after school, things like that. Oh, you'll be real proud of that boy.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I guess I'd better be moving along.
Well, I'll just clean this kettle out with some sand here.
I'd like to offer you a ride into town, but my horse is losing a shoe. I don't think you could carry both of us.
That's all right, mister. That's all right. Yeah, thanks for the grub.
Oh, don't mention it.
Say, well, doggone it. I don't know your name, do I?
Oh, it's Ponset.
Not Britt Ponset.
That's right.
Well, I always figured I'd be meeting up with you someday, where the both of us keep moving around. I'm real pleased to meet you, Mr. Ponset. Oh, my first name's Gus.
Oh, yeah, Gus.
Before you shove off, I was wondering if you'd mind doing me a little favor.
Hmm?
As long as you'll be getting into Clover Fork ahead of me, would you stop off and tell Amy and the boy that I'm coming to see him for a day or so? I think maybe they kind of deserve a warning.
Sure, I'd be glad to, Gus.
Fred, it isn't fair. He's got no right to come here. Not after all this time.
Well, Amy, he's Ted's father.
He was Janet's husband, too. But that didn't make any difference to him. Nobody else ever made any difference. Now, all of a sudden, he remembers that he's got a son. Why didn't he ever think about Ted before?
Now, don't get yourself all upset over it. He's only passing through. He'll just be here a day or so. That's what he said.
What will it do to Ted? He thinks his father's dead.
He would. Oh.
I had to tell him something, Britt. When Janet was so sick, he got the idea that if his pa was here, she'd get better. I could hear little Teddy praying. Every night he prayed that his father would come home. And when he didn't, and Janet died, well, I told him Gus was dead. I said that was why he hadn't come. And for all I knew, it was true. For all I knew, he was dead.
Well, I'm not saying I blame you, Amy, but Proctor's on his way into town, so if you want to explain to Ted,
He isn't even here. He had some errands he was going to do for me on his way home from school. I imagine he'll... Oh, that'll be Mrs. Peters. I promised her I'd have a dress ready for tonight, and it's barely started. Oh.
Hello, Amy.
But Gus.
You were expecting me, weren't you?
Yes, but not yet. Not so soon. Britt said you wouldn't be here until later.
Well, made better time than I expected. Soundbuster give me a ride in his wagon.
Oh. Well, come in.
Howdy, Mr. Ponset. Nice seeing you again.
Hi, Gus.
My. You turned out real pretty, Amy.
Have I?
Well, I think maybe I'd better get on.
There's no reason for you to go, Britt.
No, I have to get me a room for the night. Now, you and Gus have things to talk over.
We don't have anything to talk about.
Now, Amy, I know how you must feel.
You don't know how I feel. You couldn't know. It wasn't pneumonia that killed Janet. When you left that last time and didn't come back. When she didn't even hear from you. That's what killed her.
Well, I couldn't help myself, Amy. It wasn't that I didn't love Janet, but...
Oh, go away, please. Leave us alone. Ted believes that you're dead. It's better that way.
He believes I'm dead?
Oh, don't make him go through the same thing Janet did. Always wondering where you are, always worrying about you. Let him go on believing you're dead.
Amy, you shouldn't have...
Oh, woman, Amy. I got the black thread you wanted and a piece of soft material, but...
Hello, Teddy. You remember Mr. Ponset?
Oh, sure.
All right, Ted.
Just fine, Mr. Ponset.
Ted, this is...
I reckon your aunt's forgotten my name, son. Can't say as I blame her, seeing as how we just met up. It's, Parker. George Parker. I stopped by because I used to be a friend of your pa's.
Well, Gus Proctor carried it off pretty well, too. Sounded real convincing. The only mistake he made was saying that he'd known Ted's father. Well, sir, that youngster cut loose with a whole passel of questions. And from then on, Gus had a pretty hard time keeping up with pretending. He kept trying to leave, but it seemed that he just had to stay for supper. Ted wouldn't take no for an answer, and Amy, well, she had to go along with it. Finally, Gus agreed, but he made it plain that he wouldn't be staying in Clover Fork overnight. Well, I went over to the hotel and got myself a meal, my room. Oh, Amy had invited me to supper, too, but I told her to make it some other time. After I'd eaten, I settled down in the lobby. The usual poker game was going on over in the corner. So I sat around for a while. And then just as I was getting ready to go upstairs, I saw Gus come strolling in.
Good evening, Britt. I was hoping you'd not gone to bed yet.
Yeah, well, I sure was thinking about it, Gus. How was the supper?
Oh, it's first rate. Amy's a real fine cook. She's a fine woman, too, Britt. She's done a good job with the boy.
Well, I never heard anybody say otherwise. You went on playing dead, huh?
I must say I wrote myself a mighty pretty obituary.
You did?
Yeah. As far as Ted's concerned, he had just about the greatest father that ever lived.
Mm-hmm. Why did you change your mind, Gus? Why didn't you tell him who you really were?
Well, Amy was so set against it, and, well, I don't know, I figured maybe she was right. Ain't as if I was going to be with him or be hanging around town, but, well...
Yeah?
I did sort of promise to stay over another day.
Oh?
Well, the boy wants to go hunting tomorrow. It's Saturday. He don't have no school, and he ain't never been hunting with a man, Britt. I guess I owe him that much.
Yeah, sure.
The only thing is, if I'm going to stay over, well, I'll need me a little stake. Now, I'm not asking for a loan, you understand? Well, not without offering securities, anyhow. You noticed my stick pin, didn't you?
Yeah, I noticed it.
Wow, it sure looks like a genuine diamond, don't it? Oh, it ain't, of course. It's just glass, but I've moved fire. I really fooled more than one jeweler with that pin. So if I wasn't to claim it back, well, you could always get more than $5 for it. You wouldn't be out nothing.
No, I don't know, because $5 is a lot of money, you know.
You'll have it back before morning.
Mm-hmm. I will, huh?
Sure. You see that game over there in the corner?
Yeah.
Well, not one of them fellas knows the first thing about poker. can tell from the way they're holding their cards.
Maybe so. I thought you said you were in a losing streak.
Well, I was until tonight. Now I got the doggonedest feeling my luck has changed. Ted sure had his heart set on going hunting.
All right. Here you are. Here's the money.
Thank you, Britt. Thank you. Here's the pin.
Oh, you don't have to
No, sir. A business transaction is a business transaction. Now, here, you take it.
Say, by the way, what did you tell Ted about yourself? I mean, about this George Parker you're claiming to be.
Oh, I said I was a no good, no count, roving gambler.
Oh, I see you did, huh?
Well, I had to tell him some truth, didn't I?
Yeah, I guess you did.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in just a moment. But I'd like to pass on a word of thanks to you, our audience. Thanks from Jimmy Stewart, from our writer, Frank Burt, the entire technical crew, and our director, Jack Johnstone, for the warm, friendly letters we receive from you every week. It makes us feel that you are somehow sharing the pleasure that is ours in bringing you the six-shooter. We only wish it were possible to answer them all individually, for we appreciate hearing from you more than you may realize. Now, Act 2 of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponset.
Well, Gus paid me back first thing next day. And he had a whole lot more than $5 in his pocket, too. Plenty of silver and a roll of bills. I guess his luck had changed, all right. He was all fixed up to go hunting when I saw him, wearing some new breeches and a flannel shirt, carrying a couple of first-class rifles under his arm. I went about my business, picked up some parts for the pump on the Eagle J where I was working, and headed back to the ranch. And it was almost a week later before I came into town again, new harness for the mules this time. I was kind of surprised to see Gus playing poker in the hotel lobby when I registered. I figured he'd probably moved on by now. He waved to me and went on with the game, and it looked like to me he was still winning. Well, I went upstairs to my room and started to clean up for supper. Come in. Oh.
Howdy, Mr. Ponset.
Well, how are you? Well, what can I do for you, Ted?
I stopped by the hotel to see Mr. Parker, but he's busy. He said you were back in town, so... Well, I'd like to talk to you, Mr. Ponset.
Sure, go ahead.
You're a friend of Mr. Parker's, ain't you?
Well, more or less, I reckon.
Well, I think he's getting ready to leave Clover Fork, Mr. Ponset.
Oh?
He told me he never stays in one place very long. Not more than a few days, usually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with him, Mr. Ponset. When he leaves, I'm going along. Oh, he don't know it yet, but I've made up my mind. I ain't never had so much fun in my whole life as I have since he's come to town. We've been hunting and fishing, and he even let me play hooky from school day before yesterday, so we could hire some horses and take us a ride out in the country. Oh, only don't you tell Aunt Amy.
All right, okay.
He must like me, don't you think?
Well, it sure looks like it, doesn't it?
He says he ain't got no family of his own. Well, I bet he gets lonesome. I bet he'd like having somebody with him.
Well...
He's just got to take me along. If he don't, I'll go anyway. I'll run away and I'll follow him, and I'll find him, too.
Now, just hold on.
Oh, it ain't that I don't appreciate what Aunt Amy's done for me, but I'm grown up now. I don't need a woman fussing and making me behave. I want to be like Mr. Parker. I want to move around and see lots of places the way he does. And I'll learn to be a gambler. I've watched him. I already know how to play poker. Some.
Oh? Uh-huh. Well, most anybody can learn how to play it. Is learning how to win that's a mite more difficult.
Well, he never loses, Mr. Ponset. There ain't nobody who can beat George Parker.
Is that so?
He's just about the finest man I ever met. Maybe not as fine as my pa was, but he was a friend of my pa, so Pa must have thought good of him, too.
Uh-huh.
I've been able to ask him about letting me go with him. I'm scared he'll turn me down. Of course, it wouldn't make no difference if he did. Like I said, I'll go anyhow. But, well, would you ask him for me? I mean, would you tell him what I've decided?
Well, don't you think maybe you ought to talk this thing over with your Aunt Amy?
Oh,
first?
that'd be just a waste of time. I know what she'd say, but it wouldn't make no difference.
All right, Ted. I'll ask Mr. Parker. I'll tell him what you decided.
I'll be doggone. So he wants to go off with me, huh? Well, I guess that proves something. Ted's my son, all right, and I guess maybe somewhere down deep inside, he knows it.
Maybe so, Gus. Maybe so.
I don't know why I never thought of it myself. Well, ain't no reason why I shouldn't take him.
Oh, I sure don't know of any.
Why not? When I was his age, I'd already left home. He'd just be following in my footsteps. Except in this way, I'd be around to look after him.
Yeah, and he's a pretty big boy. He must have had some schooling by now, probably enough. More than likely.
Oh, well, now, I don't know about that.
Well, of course, it won't make much difference, Gus, as long as he's going to be a gambler.
What?
Oh, yes. That's what he's set his mind to being, a gambler.
Well, he ain't going to be no gambler, Britt. You think I want Ted to have the kind of life I've had? You think I'm proud of myself? Man wants his son to do better than he's done. Any man wants that.
Of course he does.
I could settle down, get a job again, make a real home for him. And then later on, I could let him know who I really am, that I'm his pa. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's just what I'll do.
Sure, yeah.
What's use of trying to fool myself? I couldn't work steady or stay put. I couldn't do it for his ma. I couldn't do it for Ted. I'd be moving on inside of 6 weeks. Well, I guess it's up to me to lay down the law to him.
You know, he's a real determined youngster, Gus. He told me he'd run away and follow after you no matter what, and I believe him.
Oh, he'd come back to Amy soon enough.
You know, you didn't come back when you were his age and you ran away, did you?
Well, he ain't me, and he ain't going to make the same mistakes I did.
Well, maybe a good talking to will set him straight. But right now, you're his idol, Gus. Finest fellow that ever lived. Next to Dad, of course.
He said that?
That's what he said.
Britt, I can't be nobody's idol. And I don't want nobody following my example, least of all my own boy. I'm getting out of town tonight. Right now.
Now, you know, kids have pretty good memories, Gus. Some things they never forget. And some people, too. Even after you're gone, he'll still want to be like you.
No, he won't. Not if I... Hey, look, it's still early yet. I'll have time for a couple of hands of poker before I go. You don't play, do you, Britt?
No, not very much. Sometimes I kind of enjoy watching. There was a seat open when we got downstairs, and Gus moved right in. Boys sure were anxious to have him play, especially Bart Finch. Seems he'd lost quite a bit during the last week, and he wanted a chance of getting some of it back. I stood by Gus's chair watching the play. He was just about holding his own the first few minutes. Then along about the fifth or sixth hand, I noticed he sort of tensed up. That wasn't like him, not from what I'd seen of his poker playing. Gus was the dealer, and Bart opened the pot. They raised each other a couple of times, and the other players dropped out. Then it came to a draw. Bart tossed in 2 cards, and one of them kind of hit on edge and almost flopped over. I couldn't see what it was, though, not from where I was standing. Gus dealt Bart 2 fresh cards and drew 2 himself. And then everybody seemed to get kind of quiet. Bart made a $10 bet, and Gus raised him to $25. Bart came right back with another raise, and Gus upped it again. And, that pot got to be about, $300, I think. Whew. Well, finally Bart called.
All right, Parker. What do you got? Well, let's see. Looks to me like about 2 pair.
Huh. Well, that just don't happen to be the full house.
Well, it might. It might.
Hmm?
You see, Finch, I got 2 pair of jacks.
What?
There you are. 4 jacks.
Keep away from them chips, Parker.
Well, what's the matter?
You're not cheating me out of this hand.
You're talking crazy, Finch.
Oh, listen to me, boys. I threw in 2 discards. One of them was a jack. There's only 4 jacks in the deck.
Oh, he's all mixed up. That must have been the last
Well,
hand.
they're the discards. There's supposed to be 4 of them. 2 from me, 2 from him. There, now, what did I tell you, boys? Only 3. He dealt himself my jack. That's how he's been winning all week, too. That's how he got our money. Well, you ain't going to cheat anybody else, Parker.
Hold on, now. Take it easy, Finch.
You stay out of this, Ponset.
You put that gun away. I mean it,
You
Bart.
ain't going to stand up for a crooked gambler, Britt. Now I'm fixing it so he won't ever... Ow!
Now, rest of you sit tight. If there's going to be any more gunplay around here, somebody's going to get hurt. Except for you, Parker. You better get out of town and fast. And you better think twice before you come back, too.
Don't worry, Ponset. I won't be coming back.
Hmm? Oh, hello, Tad.
I've been looking all over for you. It ain't true, is it? What they say about Mr. Parker? He didn't cheat at poker. He couldn't have.
Well, I'm afraid that's how it looked.
I don't believe it. I won't. He isn't that kind of man. He just isn't. They even say that you told him to leave Clover Fork and not to come back.
That's right.
Honest, Mr. Ponset?
That's what I told him, Ted.
You mean it really happened, what I heard?
It happened all right.
It's true. To think I wanted to go with him. I wanted to be like him. I must have been loco. Why, a man who cheats at cards, he's lower than a snake even.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe Mr. Parker had a reason for what he did.
There couldn't be no reason. Not for something like that. I wish I'd never heard of him. And I don't think he was a friend of my Pa's either. I don't think he ever knew Pa at all. Pa wouldn't have had nothing to do with a skunk like him.
No, I don't know about that, Ted.
Well, I do.
Uh-huh. Look, maybe you ought to head for home. Your Aunt Amy will be worrying about you, don't you think?
Yeah, you bet. You know, Mr. Ponset, I ain't ever gonna leave her.
Oh, someday you will. But not for a while yet. Not for a while yet, Ted. Well, it was plain as day that pulling a stunt like Gus did in that poker game, he was bound to be found out. Any card player would know that much, let alone a man who makes his living gambling. Of course, I told Amy what he'd done and why he'd done it. You know, he wanted to tear down that idol Ted had built up. And even feeling the way she did, well, she had to admit that maybe there was some good in it. She and Fred Baker, they're married now. So Ted's got a father to take him hunting and fishing. Everybody says Fred's as good to him as if Ted was his own son. I never have run into Gus Proctor again. But like he mentioned, we're both on the move most of the time, so it's more likely we'll bump into each other someday. Anyway, I kind of hope so.
The Six Shooter is a transcribed NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions. It is based on a character created by Frank Burt and is written by him. Mr. Stewart may currently be seen in the Universal International picture, The Glenn Miller Story. Others in the cast were Shirley Mitchell, Dick Beals, Barney Phillips, and Robert Griffin. Special music for this program was by Basil Adlin, and the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. By the way, you'll be interested in knowing that the Six Shooter has been chosen for broadcast to our men overseas through the facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Services. This is John Wall speaking. Listen to Jan Murray in Sunday at Home on the NBC Radio Network.
That's the Relic Radio Show for this week. You can find more from the Columbia Workshop, the 6-shooter, past episodes of this podcast and all the others at relicradio.com. Got a Shoutcast stream there up and running as well with even more old-time radio. Lots to listen to, all for free, thanks to your support. If you'd like to help out, visit donate.relicradio.com or click on one of the links on the website. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. Talk to you again next Tuesday with another episode of the Relic Radio Show.